This is me about to try Eliud Kipchoge's hardest training session in a desperate attempt to get into marathon shape myself. So how does the best in the world train, and is it stupid or genius for an amateur like me to copy a training session like this? 5 years ago I tried to copy a full training day from Eliud Kipchoge, but a couple of things have changed since then. We can watch a bit from the video I made then. First of all, he goes up crazy early to have a quick cup of tea before his first run. The morning session was 10-minute intervals times 4 at a high pace with a 2-minute rest plus a warm-up and a cool down. Okay, so first of all, I can't believe that I said that waking up 6 a.m. was crazy early. Yeah, that was 2 kids ago for sure. If waking up early was the only thing you need to do to run fast, I would be at Kipchoge level by now for sure. And secondly, since then he has been even more open about his training. And instead of hard pace like the interval I did then, he has come out with specific paces for his different runs. And this makes the nerd in me come alive, because when we have specific paces, it's easy to create a calculator that converts what pace you or I should run in to get the same kind of session as Kipchoge. And I'm actually training for a marathon right now, and let's just say it has not gone that well. I caught the flu and have been sick more or less the last month. But I'm finally back in training, and learning from the best marathoner in the world is sort of my last desperate attempt or hope to get into okay shape before that marathon. So I found this article where Kipchoge goes through a regular training week in his marathon training. And this is super interesting. I will go through his training week, but first let's spend some time using this information to create what I call the Kipchoge training calculator. It's done, and this thing is beautiful if I might say so myself, and I'll explain how it works, but first let's quickly go through a full training week from Eliud Kipchoge and find his hardest session that I can try myself. On Monday he does 19 kilometers easy intensity in the morning and then 10 kilometers easy in the afternoon. On Tuesday he does a track workout on a dirt track. They vary this session a bit, but as an example they say he does 8 times 1600 meters or 1 mile, just a bit slower than his marathon pace. And then 8 times 400 meters, a bit faster than his marathon pace. But we should also be reminded that he trains at altitude. This track is 2000 meters above sea level, that makes it a bit harder. Then in the afternoon he does 10 kilometers easy intensity, Wednesday morning 19 kilometers easy, then 60 minutes strength and mobility, and another 10 kilometers easy intensity in the afternoon. On Thursday he does a 30 kilometer or 40 kilometers tempo run. He's alternating this between every other week. Friday is the exact same training day as Wednesday with some easy running and strength training. On Saturday he does a fartlek interval session, 13 times 3 minutes with a 1 minute jog as rest, and 10 kilometers easy in the afternoon. On Sunday he does 2 hours or 16 kilometers at an easy intensity. So that is the whole training week that I have created this Kipchoge training calculator of. So this might look a bit complicated, but it's actually pretty straightforward. So here I just put in my marathon time. I at least hope that I am in shape right now after way too much sickness through the winter to run a sub 3 hour marathon. That is at least my goal in the upcoming race I'm running in a couple of weeks from now. And then you get this difference here that not only takes my marathon time and Kipchoge's into consideration, it also takes into consideration that he is running at altitude. That, based on this calculator, should make him run about 5% slower than the sea level I will be running on. So when I change this time here, all my training numbers change so that I run the exact same duration as him on all the runs and intervals, and I get a pace and a distance to run that should give me the same intensity as him, which basically will mean that I run quite a bit shorter distances than him, And this is the main thing I see people trying to copy elite athletes' training sessions doing wrong. Because if you, for example, hear that Jakob Ingebrigtsen runs 10 times 1 kilometer intervals, and you also want to try this and run 10 times 1 kilometer intervals, that is two completely different workouts, because your intervals will be so much longer in duration compared to his. So if you try to run at the same relative intensity as him, your workout will actually be harder. And to train harder than the best in the world is often a really good way to overdo things and get yourself injured. It is more similar to what they are actually doing if you run the same duration. Kipchoge runs around 215 kilometers per week, and when adjusted for my running shape, if I would copy a whole week of his, I would run 151 kilometers. And let's be honest, that running volume would get me injured with my current shape. But I think and hope that I can survive one of his workouts. What I found to be the hardest workout that he did during the week, besides the long run, was this one on Tuesday. And it is the one I will try to copy. Before I go out and actually test the Kipchoge session to see how hard it actually is, I'm going to put these carbon plate insoles into my training shoes that come from the sponsor of this video, Victory. Because I really like to do these tougher workouts in softer, well-cushioned shoes, but still get that carbon racer feel. And then it is perfect to use these. The Victory Gold VK Performance insoles that has this carbon base plate. And you replace your original insole with this, and I really like the springy energy return effect you get in each stride from this. And I feel like the shock absorption effect you get from this saves my legs and knees during these tougher workouts and gets me ready to run more of them sooner. This is what the original insoles from these shoes looks like. They don't give me that much energy return. And this is the carbon plated insoles from Victory. So this stores a lot of energy and then gives it back to you during the push-off phase in your stride. So thanks to Victory for supporting my channel and creating these great insoles. If you want to try them out yourself, I have a link in the description that will give you a 20% discount. And if you end up not liking them as much as I do, then they also offer a 90-day money-back guarantee. Okay, so time for some warm-up, 50 minutes easy running. I'll run 2.1 kilometers and Kipchoge runs around 3 kilometers for this warm-up. And then ending the warm-up with some short, faster strides. At the easy runs, they say that Kipchoge runs at 8:30 to 8:45 minute mile pace and then slowly up the pace to around 6:30 to 7 minutes per mile pace. And that's starting 4 minutes per mile slower than his marathon pace, and still 2 minutes per mile off his marathon pace at the end of the easy runs. So his easy runs are put into perspective of how incredible of a runner he is. Quite slow actually, and I'm sure that most amateur runners run their warm-ups and easy runs way closer to their marathon pace than Kipchoge does. In general, I think many people run a bit too fast on their easy runs, but we should also take into perspective that Kipchoge runs a lot every single day. So in order to both handle that volume and the harder workouts, it is necessary to run the easy runs at a, for him, really slow pace. But I still think we can learn something here. If we can make the slower runs a bit slower, we can withstand more training and do more of these harder workouts that I will soon try. 3 short 15-second strides, and then it's go time. Warm up done, so time to run fast, but still not super fast, because once again converting his paces to my shape with the calculator, these intervals doesn't look super brutal at least. maybe I'll regret those words. But this workout consists of two parts. The first part he runs 1600 meters or 1 mile at 4 minutes and 40 seconds. So after letting the calculator convert this, I will run 1.1 kilometer. He does this 8 times and has quite a long rest of 2 minutes between the reps. So this is a track workout for him. So I thought about going to the track, but he runs at a quite rough dirt track. So I think this gravel road is more similar than going to my plastic track in town. And I actually think it is a point in itself that he runs most of his workouts on those red Kenyan dirt roads, because it is firm enough to be relevant for the races on asphalts he will run, but still a bit softer, and that can reduce the risk of injuries. Enough talking. Let's start with the first interval. Two more to go. It's not that hard actually at this pace. It is below my lactate threshold pace, so it feels pretty controlled, but it's still quite much volume running 8 of these for me, and the interval session isn't done after these ones either. 8 done. Now we move directly into the last part of this workout, and that is 8 times 400 meters. Kipchoge runs these at 65 seconds, and according to my Kipchoge calculator, I will run 282 meters. It's crazy how much faster than me he is. Okay, let's see how it feels to run a bit faster after these first 8 ones. It actually felt really good speeding up a bit, because this was still really manageable to keep this pace during these shorter intervals. I would say that this is a really good session under lactate threshold that anyone can do if you adjust the paces. So that is always really fascinating when copying the training of the best in the world and actually adjusting it to similar intensity, is that they don't do these super extreme things. And I think that is a big learning point for all of us. How good of a runner you become doesn't depend on a single extreme workout you manage to do. On the contrary, it depends on being able to have the consistency and put in the work day after day and week after week. And then it is super counterproductive to destroy yourself in a single workout. Kipchoge says this very good himself. I try not to run 100%. I perform 80% on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday, and then 50% on Monday, Wednesday, Friday and Sunday. So doing a single one of his workouts for an amateur like me, I think it's really doable. And this was a great session. But Kipchoge also in the afternoon, after doing this session, he has another easy run. So that would be pushing the volume a bit much for me. After the cool down, this session for me will end up being around 15 kilometers. And I think the biggest learning point from today is that if you look at the best runners in the world like Kipchoge, they don't run that fast in training compared to their racing times. And you and me could also probably be better off from running a bit slower in training to be able to run more and still stay injury free. If you want to try the Kipchoge training calculator that I created, it is free to download and use for all my Patreon members. There's a link in the description to that. And thanks again to Victor for creating these great carbon fiber insoles that I used during this workout. If you want to check them out, there's a link in the description to that as well. Train smart, have fun, and I will see you in the next video.